every year you get your Pinterest vision board ready for the new year. The next year rolls around and you look back at your Pinterest vision board only to realize that everything that you put on the board is still on the board instead of in your life. In this video, I'm going to explain why and the 7 steps that you need to take to make sure that next year is a different story. Hello and welcome. My name is Nafisa and I help Black and brown women use rebellion as a tool to overcome anxiety so they can start making decisions that reflect the life that they truly want. One thing that a lot of people fail to realize is that your current life and your current reality is perfectly aligned with who you believe yourself to be. And so that's why 2026 is going to be the same as 2025, as 2024, as 2023, and on and on and on, because your identity has not changed. The person that you believe yourself to be has not changed. And so if you do not believe yourself to be the person that has access to all these things that you're putting on your vision board, to all these New Year's resolutions, if you don't believe yourself to be the kind of person that can have those things, to hold the kind of identity that can attract those things, that can keep those things, that can steward those things, then 2026 is just going to be like any other year. The new year always starts off with a rush of motivation. You set your intentions and you are excited. There's so much excitement about the possibility of what could unfold in the new year. But to create those changes for yourself, to really bring those things to life that you are putting in your New Year's resolutions and on your vision board, your habits need to change. Your habits need to reflect those things coming to fruition. But the thing about developing new habits is that your habits sit on top of your identity. Okay, so you are not going to be able to create, establish, and sustain new habits within an old identity. An identity shift has to take place. And that's so much easier said than done, because you feel safe in your old identity. And your old identity fights to stay alive. Even in terms of regulating your nervous system, being able to regulate your nervous system enough to shift into a new identity that can make space for the things that you truly want, make space for the things on your vision board, make space for the things on your list of New Year's resolutions, is a journey in itself. Your old identity is your safe space. Even though you've outgrown it, even though you want something new for your life, something better, you want more, you feel safe where you are, and that's why you've been there for so long. That is who you identify with currently. And so to think about doing something different, becoming someone different in order to usher in those things that you truly want for your life is nerve-wracking. And it's not something that your nervous system is going to take lying down. It senses danger. The change feels dangerous. And so in comes all the protective measures that your mind, your ego, and your nervous system have in place to keep you safe and to keep you where you are, to keep you in your old identity. And this is the chapter in which you start to settle back into your old identity. You start to settle back into old habits. It's that kind of space in between February and March where you realize that the numbers at the gym are starting to dwindle. People have gone back to drinking. That healthy diet that you started is out of the window. You're back to eating all of the things, snacking on all of the things that you used to, and you've got excuses for it. This is part of your protection. You've got so many excuses. The weather's too cold, so you're eating, what you need to do for comfort and to survive. The gym's always so busy when you go that you're going to go at a later time, and that later time comes and you're yawning, you're sleepy, it's time for bed. Whatever the case is, you lull yourself back into your old identity because it's safe. And this is nothing to judge yourself for, because it's our default setting as human beings. Whether you like it or not, you have a loyalty to your old identity. And trying to force new habits on your old identity may work for some time, but it's not sustainable. trying to get your old identity to visualize a life that it does not believe in for you. There's only so far that you can go. In order to draw in those things that you have on your vision board, that you have on your New Year's resolution list, you will have to undergo an identity shift. And here are the 7 steps that you need to take to do so, to make sure that next year isn't just like any other year and that you're actually getting closer to your dreams. Step 1 is to actually identify the identity that you want to shift into. So many of us put together these vision boards, put together these New Year's resolutions that are based on what society tells us that we should want, what society tells us that we should be striving towards. And we hardly ever stop to ask ourselves, in truth, whether these are things that we actually want, these are things that we truthfully identify with, or whether they are just things that we feel that we should strive towards because of a timeline, or because of what's the norm, or because of what other people are doing and what other people are achieving. So many of us have not taken the time or been afforded the time to truly get to know ourselves in truth, to get to know what we actually want our lives to look like, what we want, what we desire. So often, what we are striving towards, what we're putting on our vision boards, what we are trying to gain success in, isn't really about what we truly want. It's about what we see the world validating, what we see the world congratulating, what we see society affirming for other women. And so we want to fall in line with that, okay, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. And this training, this molding, comes with so much scarcity and fear-mongering that it feels safe to stay within the bounds of what society tells you that you should want, or what society approves of. That's what feels safest. But that doesn't mean that that's what's true to you. And it's so important that the first step of identity shifting is pressing pause on all of that noise and asking ourselves, sitting with ourselves and asking ourselves who we actually want to be, what we actually want for our lives. It's rebellious in a world that tells us that we should be A, B, and C, that we need to take this particular path, that this is what success looks like, that this is what we have access to. It's rebellious to press pause on that and to actually connect with ourselves and ask ourselves, what do we want? And because it's so out of the norm, it can feel quite uncomfortable. It can feel difficult to sort through and sift through and get to because everything has become so conflated. We've conflated what society tells us that we should want, what our culture tells us that we should want, what religion tells us that we should want, what we are told that we should want as women. We conflate that with what we actually want. And so everything just becomes one ball, right? And we have a duty to ourselves to sift through that, to really unpick that. You have to really sit with yourself and ask yourself, what feels most true and most authentic to me when no one's watching? What feels most authentic to me when I don't have to perform for the applause or the approval of society, of my family, of the people around me? What would I want for myself if external approval wasn't part of the equation? Step 2 is to understand who and what the old identity is contracted to. Not only are you loyal to your old identity, but you've also built a whole world and really strong narratives around this old identity. You have so many unknown and untold stories about the level of catastrophe that would unfold for yourself and for everyone involved if you were to change. And it's so important to unpick those because they're not necessarily true, but they are a defense mechanism. They're a way of your old identity keeping itself alive. To ask yourself, what are the beliefs keeping your old identity alive? Okay. And what does your old identity protect you from? What gifts does your old identity bring you? Does it bring you attention? Does it bring you praise? Does it bring you invisibility? There are so many ways in which your old identity maintains the status quo and keeps your system going. But it's important to unpick all of those things. I'll give you an example. I always wanted financial abundance for myself, right? But my old identity had a belief that money was hard to come by and easy to lose. And so that kept me small. That stopped me from taking any financial risk. That kept me checking my bank balance anytime I wanted to make a decision, anytime I wanted to do something. I'd convince myself that I just didn't have enough money, or that that was too big a risk to take with my money. I could lose it all. I'd talk myself out of it to keep myself safe. That was the function of the old identity. But when I made the shift into a new identity, an identity in which money was abundant, money was everywhere, money was a co-creator, I started to believe that money was everywhere and that it was always available to me. And this belief set me free from a lot of restrictions that my old identity had over me. With that shift in identity and the beliefs that came with it, I was able to make different decisions, have different behaviors, right? So that enabled me to take a year of unpaid leave from work. Before, when I had had that conversation with myself, I'd always defaulted back to what my bank statement was saying and decided that that was impossible, right? But this time, I set my intention and took the action towards it. And what happened? I was able to take a year of unpaid leave from work and not struggle financially. So many miracles happened along the way that meant that anytime I needed money, it met me. It came to meet me. I was able to make investments that I had assumed would take me 5 to 10 years to make. Why? Because I was looking at my reality then. I was looking at my bank balance and saying, well, by the time I've saved enough to really make this happen, 5 years is going to have gone past, or 10 years, it's going to take me 10 years. But when I stopped making decisions according to those limitations, when I shifted into a new identity, what happened? Opportunities located me. The money to make those investments came to meet me. The truth is that the contracts of the old identity will follow you into 2026 if you don't terminate them, okay? Those contracts are on auto renewal. And they will follow you into 2026 the same way that they followed you into 2025, 2024, 2023, 2022, if you do not terminate those contracts. Step 3 is to understand your insignificance in order to understand your freedom. Okay? There's so much protection surrounding your old identity. Your ego is so invested in your old identity that you have these ideas about the consequences, what it will mean if you change, what it will mean for yourself, what it will mean for the people around you, what it will mean for the things, that you have in place, the structures, the systems, the status quo. Because your old identity wants to be protected, it catastrophizes everything, that could go wrong, everything that could happen if you are to change, if you are to take a chance, if you are to step into a new identity. And what you have to come to terms with is your insignificance, not so that you feel bad about yourself, or not so that you feel small, not so that you think that you're unimportant or that you don't matter, but so that you understand that you are free. You are free. You don't have the power to stop the show. If you change today, the whole world will not collapse. If you make a different decision, if you choose a different path, the world doesn't collapse. In fact, it carries on turning. It carries on spinning. And this is a really humbling realization. And it's one that I personally came to terms with, and I think a lot of other people do as well, when I experienced bereavement. Someone so precious to me passed away, and the world continued to spin. Life went on. The moon shone at night and the sun rose in the morning. The birds chirped. Everything went on as normal. TFL was still running. Nothing stopped. Nothing stopped. And there's something about realizing how insignificant you are as a human being to let you know that You don't stop the cogs from turning. Everything doesn't collapse because you change, because you pivot, because you make a different decision. The whole world does not hang in the balance of your decisions. Therefore, you are free. You are free. And you have to start to recognize your insignificance as leverage as opposed to an insult. Okay? It's leverage for you. Step 4 is the good goodbye. You don't just get to wake up and discard your old identity. She's been with you. She's been a part of you. She has been you for so long. And you owe her a lot. You owe her respect. You owe her reverence. You owe her thanks for where she's brought you, for how she's protected you, for all the ways that she has served you. Even if you are embarking on a new chapter, on a new journey, and you don't need that old identity in the same way, you must honor it. And this is what I refer to as the good goodbye. Recognize the old identity. Recognize the sacrifices, the things that the old identity has done to keep you safe, to keep you away from harm. Recognize why it was necessary for the old identity to conduct herself in the way that she was conducting herself. This is sacred. This step is not to be skipped. Okay, you owe a lot to your old identity. You need to give almost like a eulogy to this old identity, right? Start from the beginning. How was she formed? Who helped to shape her? Why did she need to exist? Why was she so necessary? How did she keep you safe? You need to come to a place where you appreciate the old identity deeply. Your old identity is not an enemy. It's not there to hold you back. It's a co-creator. Your old identity is the reason you are where you are today, having the realization that it's time to move on, that it's time to transition, that it's time to shed her and leave her behind and develop something new. And like I said, this is sacred, right? So it's something that needs to be marked, even with a ceremony, for example. I'm a big fan of writing letters to myself. So it may be that you write a letter to yourself and decide what to do with that letter. Do you want to read it out loud to yourself in the mirror? Do you want to bury it somewhere special? Do you want to burn it as a symbol or a sign of moving on? Whatever you decide to do, it's important to say the good goodbye to the old identity. Step 5, decide your identity and make it law. When you step into your new identity, that's not the end of your old identity. The world knows you through the lens of your old identity. The people around you know you through the lens of your old identity. Okay? And so you will not stop receiving invitations to go back to your old identity, to continue to exist in your old identity. And it's been so comfortable there. That's been home for so long that it's going to be hard to resist. And that's why you have to locate your new identity in something bigger than you, something external to you. Make it law. The law is the law, regardless of how you're feeling, regardless of what mood you're in, regardless of what is making you comfortable or uncomfortable. The law is the law, and it will be abided by. And when I talk about law, okay, this is not about punishment. It's about discipline. It's about being deeply committed to something bigger than you. Something bigger than your feelings, something bigger than your mood, something bigger than what you're familiar with and what feels comfortable. It's law. So you have to follow it regardless. And that is how you continue to show up for yourself in that discipline. You continue to show up as your new identity until it becomes second nature to you. Make it law. And that brings me on nicely to step 6, which is pledge allegiance to your new identity. Okay, this is an extension really of step 5, is you pledging allegiance to your new identity. It means that you navigate the world through the lens of your new identity. So when you receive those invitations to go back to the old ways of being, to go back to the old ways of relating, to go back to the old ways of understanding the world, all of the things that are not going to bring you closer to what is on your vision board. Instead of leaning on your own understanding or trying to make sense of it at a time that, you're kind of swaying, caught in between old identity and new identity and trying to make it make sense, you go straight to the law. It's a reference point for you. You go straight to law. What is the law of this new identity? What are the beliefs of this new identity? What are the behaviors and the habits of this new identity? Okay. And anything that doesn't fall in line with that goes against law, right? And so when someone invites you into a situation that would require you to fall back into your old identity, instead of debating with yourself about whether or not this is something that you should do or partake in, instead of thinking about it over and over in your mind, all you do is refer to law. Does this fit within the law of the new identity? And if the answer is no, then it's a no for you too. Okay? It's bigger than you. It's bigger than you. You don't have to feel guilty about the decision that you're coming to because you are under a law. You're abiding by the law. You've pledged allegiance to this new identity. She is who you are loyal to now. She's who you're riding for. She's who you ride out for. No questions asked. And so anything that goes against her law, it's a no. And this involves you really taking the time to get to know this new identity. Okay. What does she prioritize? What kind of environment does she need to flourish? What is a direct threat to her? Who does she answer to? What name does she answer to? Take time and get to know her. Now, this step is a journey. It's an ongoing journey, and there's going to be discomfort. You are going to have to learn to regulate your nervous system during this part of the journey because your nervous system is in an unfamiliar place. Your nervous system has to adjust to the new identity as well. Okay? Your nervous system needs to know that you are safe inside this new identity, that you've got this. And it's important that you don't see your discomfort during this stage as a sign that you should just fall back into the old identity or as a sign that you are failing. No. The discomfort is just that transition happening. It's your old identity losing the monopoly on you and who you are. And it's going to feel uncomfortable. Stick it out. It will be worth it. It will be worth it when you're touching in 3D those things that you're seeing on your vision board, right? It will be worth it when you're taking those things from a 2D piece of paper or from the screen on your Pinterest board and bringing it into your 3D reality. That's when you'll know that that identity shift was necessary and was worth it. And finally, step 7, right, which will support you through step 6, is to build a portfolio of evidence to support your new identity. How do you build a portfolio of evidence? You gather data that supports your new identity and that disproves the beliefs of your old identity. And the only way to do that is by taking action inside your new identity. As you take action inside your new identity and according to the law of your new identity, you will build an evidence base. You will have experiences. You will have conversations. You will have mini miracles happening that disprove your old beliefs, that disprove the beliefs and the belief systems of the old identity. And that is an evidence base for your new identity. I'll give you an example. Me sitting here talking to you on the internet in front of this camera is me disproving the beliefs of my old identity and building an evidence base of the new identity that I have shifted into. The beliefs of my old identity were that I was really shy, okay? The beliefs were that I'm a shy person, that I don't like talking to strangers, that there's no way that I could sit in front of a camera and speak to strangers about even parts of my own life and my own business. Out of the question. Never. Me Sharing stories online with strangers about my business? Absolutely not. But yet here I am, talking to you on the internet. With every video or reel that I post on YouTube, that I post on Instagram, that I post on TikTok, I build a portfolio of evidence that disproves the limiting beliefs of my old identity. And so when I slide back into the thinking patterns and into the beliefs of the old identity, when I tell myself, I can't do that because I'm shy. I can't do that because I'm not good at public speaking. I can't do that because. None of that holds the same weight that it once did. Why? Because I have a portfolio of evidence that disproves those beliefs. And so, regardless of how I feel, I've already disproved those beliefs. And so they don't hold the same weight anymore. Even if I wanted them to, they don't hold the same weight. Something else has become true. And once you know a truth, you can't unknow it. Now that I know that the truth is that I'm not as shy as I once believed, I can sit in front of a camera and address strangers, I can speak publicly. Now that I know those things to be true because of the portfolio of evidence that I've been building, I can't lean back on those old beliefs as truth. They're no longer true. And as you're stepping forward to build this portfolio of evidence, as you're stepping forward to take action towards this portfolio of evidence, you may feel silly at times. Okay, you may feel like a fool. You may feel like, what am I doing? This is delusional. And that's fine. That's fine, because you are building a portfolio. You're in the building stage. It doesn't all need to look polished and neat and put together. You are building a portfolio of evidence, and so you know what you're doing. So these are the 7 steps that you need to take to shift identity so that you can be the person that can make space for the things that you've put on your vision board. Okay, so that you can make space for the things that you have on your New Year's resolution list, so that you can be the kind of person that can attain those things, that can hold on to those things, that can enjoy those things without your nervous system feeling dysregulated. Now, identity shifting is not easy, nor is it supposed to be done in a vacuum. And this is the kind of work that I support women to do on a one-to-one basis. If you want your 2026 to be different in the best way, you do not need a new routine. You need to shift into a new identity and to courageously let the old identity die. Let the old identity go with dignity. You know that you have outgrown your old life, that you have outgrown old ways of being, and that you are ready to shift into something new. You're ready to have those things that you're putting on your vision board and putting as your New Year's resolutions. And it's time for you to have them. So let's make sure that we're doing something different for 2026. If this video resonated with you, then like it, share it, and comment shift down in the comment section. Okay, if you're ready to shift into a new identity for 2026 and to bring your vision board out of your screen, out of the pages of your journal, okay, out of your imagination and into your 3D reality. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.